The war in Iran, this stupid war that Donald Trump has began, has been escalating pretty quickly. So initially, we do all of our bombing or whatever. We kill a bunch of people. Some of them leaders, some of them kids. We'll get to that. But also in the opening hours, Iran launched waves of ballistic missiles, the ones that they have, and apparently it's their smaller ones. They haven't actually constituted much of their conventional arms, let alone nuclear weapons. But they also launched drones at Israel and the UAE and Bahrain and Kuwait and Qatar as well. Iran also struck the Kurdish region of Iraq, which it views as closely aligned with the US and Israel. Pro-Iranian militias attacked US bases in Iraq, and their supporters attempted to storm the US embassy compound in Baghdad. So you can already see that they're attacking just all over the place. And look, in terms of why they would do that, why they think that would benefit them, theoretically, they think that if they cause a lot of chaos, then the appetite for continued conflict amongst our allies in the region might start to waver. That's the goal. It doesn't really seem to make much sense why you would attack all these other countries that aren't even participating in the war, and in particular, killing their civilians. That seems to be the dark logic or the dark rationale that the Iranian military is making. But they also expanded on the second day, launching strikes in Saudi Arabia and Oman. So you not only have our negotiating partners there, but you also have them attacking the state oil company in Saudi Arabia. The goal there appearing to be, well, if we can hamper global oil trade and production, then that's gonna jack up the price of oil and gasoline, do a little bit of domestic economic damage to America. And remember, Donald Trump told us we're gonna take down all energy prices, including gasoline, by 50% in 1 year. Now that was obviously a massive lie. That was a stupid thing when he said it. It didn't end up happening. But get ready for what oil prices might be if they continue these attacks on international producers of oil. On Sunday night, Hezbollah entered the war, launching missiles and drones at Israel and opening a new front on the Lebanon border, which I have no doubt Israel is going to use as a pretext to perhaps fully conquer Lebanon at some point. We'll see. And over the past 24 hours, drones struck the British Royal Air Force Base in Cyprus as well. So look, that is a little bit farther away, and it shows that there apparently is no limit to where they're going to strike. And so look, as critical as I, and I think a lot of people will be for this war effort against Iran, it ain't like Iran's great or anything. They weren't beforehand, they're not now. And they're deliberately trying to murder civilians. Now, we're also murdering civilians. I want to be very clear about that. Now, it's difficult in the initial days of a war to get accurate information. That's both true and also used by the combatants to achieve their goals. And so you've probably been seeing, and I think we talked about yesterday on the show, that we had apparently bombed a school and killed 50 or 60 or 150, reports vary, students. It looks like mostly young girls. Now, Rubio says we would never intentionally bomb a school, which is not the same thing as denying that we did it. And I think at the end of the day, if you've bombed a school and if you've killed a bunch of kids, whether you deliberately did it or oopsie doopsie we did it, it's kind of missing the point. Now, it could end up being the case that we didn't do it, that Iran actually did it, and they're just saying that we did it to hurt us in terms of PR or whatever. But either way, it happened as a result of our war, and it's entirely possible that we did it. And certainly if the big wave is coming that Donald Trump talks about it, more civilians will die. Now, I leave it to Iranians inside of Iran and here whether they think this overall is a good thing, or maybe they have what I consider to be overly optimistic assumptions about where this could end up going in terms of unleashing Iranian freedom and them taking over the country. Maybe something good will end up happening out of all this. But along the way, a lot of people are gonna die and we're gonna kill a lot of them. And Donald Trump sure seems to be glossing over a lot of that. Not only with his statements that, people may die, that happens in these wars, whatever, it's not gonna be me. Because he's not serving, his family's not serving. He didn't serve back in Vietnam. Why the hell would Barron go abroad now? But anyway, there's a lot of concerns about where this might go. Now, you have cucks like Vance saying, there's no way Trump will let us get into a multi-year conflict. Yeah, but you also were saying we weren't gonna go to war with Iran. Vance has no principles. He also has no influence and he has no power. He's just sitting in the cuck chair chair just waiting to see what his legacy is gonna be, because he doesn't have the balls, or the ball indeed, to actually stand up and say, hey, I think this is a terrible idea, or we should try to wrap it up in the next couple of weeks or so. So don't forget Vance when this thing is finally done too. Trump began his political career implying that he listened to the people, right? I mean, the establishment Republicans weren't listening to you, but he was. He cared about the things you cared about. But he's done with that now. He's already president, he doesn't need your ass anymore. And he's willing to be super clear about the fact that he doesn't care what you think about the most important issues. And obviously here I'm talking about the dumb war that he began with Iran. So Trump was talking with the New York Post, which is his favorite media these days. And he says, I think that the polling is very good, but I don't care about the polling. I have to do the right thing. I have to do the right thing. This should have been done a long time ago. It shouldn't have. He won't. He wouldn't know what it was if it slapped him in the face. And also, if he actually thought the polling was good, do you think he'd have said, I don't care about the polling? Like when he wants to brag about polling, does he end it with, but I don't care about the polling? No, he doesn't. And you know why? Because the polling isn't good. People don't want this, and we're gonna dive into it. Now, it is still news that the president is telling you we don't care about the polls. It makes me think of Mike Huckabee's interview with Tucker Carlson, where Tucker Carlson was like, hey, so doesn't it really matter what the people think? And Mike Huckabee was like, yeah, of course. And Tucker Carlson was like, but like 80% of the country doesn't want this war. And Mike Huckabee was like, well, we don't poll on that stuff. This is not a democracy. We don't live in that kind of country. This is an authoritarian state that some people are jazzed about because, like, I don't know, they're doing a crusade against trans high school athletes or whatever. But that doesn't mean that they care about what you think about. Never forget that. And Trump says, he just rejects the play. He says, I don't think the polling is low. Look, whether polling is low or not, I think the polling is probably fine. That sentence makes absolutely no sense. But it's not a question of polling. You cannot let Iran, who's a nation that has been run by crazy people, have a nuclear weapon. I bet a lot of countries around America or around the world are thinking the same thing about America. So they didn't have a nuclear weapon. You said you already obliterated their nuclear weapons like 3 days ago. So that's bullcrap is what you're saying there. That has nothing to do at all with our war, not like his and ours, but his and Benjamin Netanyahu's. So you're just lying to us yet again. You're lying about the polling. You're lying about why you actually did it. And here is what the American people actually think to adjudicate whether the polling is low or not. 41% of the US decision of the US respondents think that the decision to do this attack in Iran was a good idea. Now that is higher than previous polls, but also it's take military action, not be involved in a long war, including ground troops. So one would assume that as the war drags on, if we invade with soldiers on the ground, that number is probably going to drop quite a bit. But right now, okay, 41%, let's bring that up. That's basically no Democrats, 18%. Independents are only 1 in 3. And what do you know, despite being super anti-war, Republicans are once again on board. Now 23% are against it, which is more than generally are opposed to something Donald Trump does, but still not nearly enough. Most people agree that attacking Iran will, that military action will make Iran more of a threat to us. And shortly, in the short term, at the very least, that certainly seems to be the case. And again, as you're looking at all of these, I want you to bear in mind something that I pointed out on the Young Turks last Friday. Whenever they do a goddamn poll like this, where they do Democrats, and they do Republicans, and they do independents, the independents always look more like Democrats than they do like Republicans. Have you noticed that? Have you noticed that trend? I certainly have. Anyway, does Trump have a clear plan for handling the Iran situation? Only 40% of America thinks that, and that's basically just Republicans. 83% say that. Yeah? What is it? What do you think it is, Republicans? Because he's not articulating it. Now, maybe you think, well, he has the plan, but he doesn't trust us dumb schmucks to tell us about it. But I don't even believe that. This is copium. This is massive copium. They know that they have been lied to. They have been conned by the biggest con artists in American history. They believed foolishly, like children might, that he was gonna be anti-war. And so they have to believe, well, he wouldn't lie to us. He must have a great plan and it must be brief. It's not a war, not a war. I didn't believe there'd be a war. Well, we'll see what they think in a couple of weeks. And again, Donald Trump is saying he might send in ground troops, which only 12% say they would be in favor of. That is Donald Trump, Mark Levin, Lindsey Graham, and like 4 other people. That is it. And yet Trump is saying if it's necessary, we might have to do it. And anything can be necessary when there's no goal, there's no strategy, and you're just making it up as you go. So everybody buckle up. This whole thing might get a whole lot more wild real soon.